All right, let's kick off today's explainer by talking about a hidden workforce that's completely changing how business is run. We're not talking about people, though. We're talking about software. Specifically, we're diving into UiPath. You know the feeling, right? You're stuck at your desk, just mind-numbingly copying data from one spreadsheet to another, or filling out the same form for the 100th time. And that little voice in your head just keeps saying, a robot should be doing this. Well, guess what? It can.
And that's exactly where UiPath comes in. It's a powerhouse platform in a field called robotic process automation, or RPA. Now, just to be clear, we're not talking about physical, walking, talking robots here. These are software robots. They're basically digital employees that live inside your computer, just waiting for you to teach them all those repetitive tasks you'd love to get off your plate. So, the big question is, how do you actually build one of these things? If you're picturing yourself having to learn lines and lines of complicated code, well, you're in for a surprise. The way UiPath is designed makes it incredibly accessible.
Yeah, instead of coding, you build an automation almost like you're drawing a flowchart. You literally just drag and drop these little pre-built activities like open this application, click this button, or copy that text, and then you connect the dots to map out the entire process, visually. One of its coolest and most powerful features is something called record and playback. It's as simple as it sounds. You just hit the record button and do the task yourself one time. As you do it, UiPath is watching every single click, every keystroke, and it's automatically turning your actions into that visual workflow. And from that point on, your new software robot can do that exact same process perfectly, thousands of times over, without ever getting tired or making a single typo.
But it goes way beyond just mimicking your clicks. UiPath has some seriously advanced tools for pulling or scraping data from pretty much anywhere. We're talking web pages, PDFs, and even those really tricky enterprise systems like SAP. It's even smart enough to pull data from older legacy systems that don't have modern ways to connect. And for big companies, that's a total game changer, because it means they can automate without having to replace their entire infrastructure.
Okay, so we've got a handle on what it is and a little bit about how you build with it. Now let's meet the key players that really make the whole UiPath platform tick.
Probably the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like a little company that's in the business of building and managing a team of digital workers. And this company has 3 core departments, each with a very specific job to do.
So this team has 3 essential roles. First up, you have the designer, and that is UiPath Studio. This is where you actually draw up the blueprints for your automation. Then you've got the worker. That's the UiPath robot. This is the piece of software that actually gets out there and does the job. And finally, every good team needs a manager. That's the UiPath orchestrator. Think of it as the central command center where you deploy, schedule, and monitor your entire robot workforce.
Okay, so that's all the theory, but what does this stuff actually look like out in the real world? Let's take a look at where these software robots are already making a huge difference.
Take a sales department, for example. Bots are taking over all that administrative grunt work. So instead of a salesperson having to manually update customer info in one system and then create an invoice in another, a robot can just do both, instantly. This lets the sales team get back to doing what they're actually good at, building relationships and, selling.
Banking is another area where this is huge. Just think about something like a loan application or those Know Your Customer compliance checks. That stuff involves pulling data from a ton of different documents and systems. Bots can automate huge chunks of that process, which means approvals happen way faster and with far fewer errors.
And even in healthcare, automation is making a big impact on the admin side. A bot can manage patient scheduling by looking at a doctor's calendar, the patient's location, and their specific insurance all at once. That's a really complex task that usually takes a whole lot of phone calls and back and forth.
So as you can see from these examples, this isn't just about cool technology for the sake of it. It's about delivering real, tangible business value. And that leads to a massive payoff, both for the companies using it and for the people who learn how to build with it.
Yeah, for companies, the return on investment is huge. It really starts with raw speed and efficiency. These robots can work 24/7 and they never make mistakes. But this also improves security because you can program a bot to only touch the exact data it needs and nothing else. And when you put all that together, the speed, the accuracy, the security, the result is just a dramatic drop in costs.
And it's pretty natural, right? When any technology delivers this much value, a brand new job market just springs up around it. The demand for people who can actually design and build and manage these software robots, it has absolutely exploded.
And that demand shows up in the paychecks.
Let's just look at the numbers for a second. In the United States, the average salary for a UiPath developer is a pretty incredible $76,000 a year. That's a serious career path.
And when you look at the ranges, you can really see the growth potential. In the US, salaries can easily climb over $100,000 for experienced developers. And in another huge market like India, the potential is also really significant, with salaries reaching up to 10 lakh rupees.
And we're not talking about small niche companies either. We're talking about global giants in the tech and consulting world, companies like Infosys, KPMG, and Tech Mahindra. They are all actively and aggressively hiring for these kinds of roles. This is not a fad, it's a real fundamental shift in how work gets done.
And that really brings us right back to where we started. Now that you've seen what this technology can do, just think about your own day-to-day work. If you had a software robot all to yourself, what would be the very first tedious, boring task you would teach it to do?